I'm Willie D. Nelson from All Things Good and Nerdy, a pop culture podcast, part of the GonnaGeek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other tantalizingly geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
This is the official GonnaGeek.com show. Here we run down the latest news and happenings in the world of geek. These are your hosts for the show, Steven, Chris, and SP.
Welcome to episode 414 of the official GonnaGeek Show. This is your July and August edition. I am Steven, and I am pleased to say Chris Farrell is here.
Happy July-August, everyone.
And also celebrating July-August with us is the July-August master, SP.
I'm sad. It's no longer Hallmark holidays, Christmas in July.
Well, that's okay, because don't worry. I'm sure they will start the actual Christmas stuff any day now, because it's almost September, and isn't that when they usually kick it off?
Well, true story, there's actually Halloween candy in our grocery stores now. I don't know if you guys have seen that. So once Halloween is over, then that starts the whole rush to the holiday season.
I think the Hallmark movies usually start sooner than that, though. Don't they get on them early fall?
Those are the really bad ones that they don't want to put in prime time.
You mean all of them?
There's good ones.
Is there?
Hey, I wanted to tell you guys something. I got randomly listening to some of our old podcasts.
I'm sorry.
I know. It was a couple months back when I was trying to fix our RSS feed, which didn't really work out because I gave up very quickly. But I got back to... I think the main way that we would fix it would be deleting all the episodes. But anyways...
Done.
I have to say, we used to have some fun times back then. Way back then, we always had some form of shenanigans that opened up the show. We used to say really horrible, profane things. And we also just were quite raunchy. So that was way back then.
How way back are we talking about here?
I started at episode 0. I literally was working my way through the feed starting at episode 1.
Well, episode 0 doesn't count. That's not a real episode.
You can't blame that on me. I didn't join the show until, I don't know, episode 200 or whatever it was.
Look, that's when the show was really Canadian. So it's not my fault either. That was like when it was 3/4 Canadian.
Yeah, I came in to save you, Chris.
Yeah, I have to say, it was kind of funny how it was like, oh, our guest this week is SP. Oh, our guest this week for other reasons is SP. And it was just like, we never actually had our main crew around most of the time.
Steven, do you remember when there used to not be H's in our show?
I do, yes. We also had many of those jokes in there too. And I also
taking you back.
I also caught a couple of patented Chris Farrell your mama jokes, which were pretty good.
I have gone clean on mother jokes. I haven't made a mom joke in years at this point.
It's
because I said I would stop.
In those old episodes for everybody to see and download and listen to.
No, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to clarify here that I've been good. I've been in recovery for many years now, and I haven't fallen off the wagon of Steven's mom jokes.
I'm not buying it.
Well, Chris Farrell, if you want to fall off the wagon at any point here, you can go ahead and bring him back to the show.
Look, I'm 40 years old almost. There's a point with diminishing returns when it comes to mom jokes being effective. I think I stopped doing them before I fully hit that point of diminishing returns. I mean, not to say that the returns weren't less and less all the time, but we stopped while there was still a little bit of meat on the bone.
Yeah. And hey, if this was one of these old episodes, I would make a joke about meat on the bone, but I'm not going to because we've matured.
I set you up.
We've matured.
I was rushing towards it and went, no, I'm not going to be the one.
Your mom likes the meat on the bone. That was just a callback. That's all that was.
I think you just used it as an excuse, and there will be more excuses in the future.
I'm gonna try and bring one back for you, Steven. Let me know how this works.
Okay.
I don't think your mom's going to care about my news story because she didn't read the magazine.
Doesn't
Did
land.
that work?
No, that
damn. See, I'm out of practice.
You've fallen off your rocker.
It's because I'm old. I fell off the rocker. I broke a hip.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the gaming news that you're bringing to the table this week, because I heard that there was an informer that used to be a gamer, and
Yes.
they are no longer informing.
So I don't know if you guys are aware, there was a magazine that covered video game news and stories in print form for 30 plus years, and in its online form, total 33 years. Well, the magazine Game Informer was just shut down on Friday out of the blue without anyone really knowing it was happening, including the employees that work there, it seems. For those unaware, Game Informer was purchased many years ago by GameStop, which is the video game selling company here in the United States and has some international stores, I believe, that has been troubled at best when it comes to their future and their outlook, and has been looking to cut costs. Evidently, one of their ways to cut cost was to cancel Game Informer magazine with no notice, including to its staff, and to abruptly pull the website off the internet. So if you're someone who wanted to archive things or to have archival copies of things, yeah, that's all gone. All of their game reviews, all of their game guides, any of their breakdowns of, say, here's how you collect these secret rare Pokemon in these games. Yeah, it's all gone, scrubbed off the internet because they just pulled down the site and didn't leave it up in any way, shape, or form. I guess to save money. It's kind of an inglorious way for a magazine that lasted 33 years to go out with just being shut down with no notice, everything gone. You can probably get some of it through archive.org or something like that, but GameStop CEO Ryan Cohn hasn't responded to any questions about what's going on with it. Like I said, staff weren't informed, so they just found out that they're out of a job because there was a tweet posted by the official Game Informer account. And if you go and ask something like ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools to write a farewell post for Twitter for Game Informer, the language they use in that reads very similar to what was posted from the official Game Informer Twitter account. So it sounds like in order to cut costs, they didn't even pay someone to write the body of the tweet or come up with some way to say farewell to the magazine. They asked an AI tool to do it. Yeah. It gets worse. Today, in fact, the official Game Informer Twitter account had posted a message saying, quote, "Our 33-year legacy deserves a genuine goodbye," written by a former Game Informer member. "We're heartbroken by the shutdown of our publication, yet we leave with pride knowing we poured everything we had into it. In the words of our editor-in-chief, be well, play well." And there was a photo embedded below with all of the editor-in-chief, the content directors, things like that. Well, after that got posted, evidently the owners at GameStop weren't happy because the Game Informer Twitter account has now been deleted. So all of the legacy tweets from the Game Informer Twitter account that would include links to articles that people had cared about and were interested in, all gone so that GameStop can save a little money. But taking down the Twitter account just kind of seems petty to me because it's not like you have to pay to keep that running. So they just deleted history because they're mad that someone posted a better farewell to a magazine other than just saying, well, doors are closing, bye. It's just a sad way to see a magazine go away that I read a lot when I was younger. Then before I started getting a lot of my gaming news online and stuff like that, I remember getting Game Informer magazine, being real excited to read reviews and breakdowns. They had great cover art all the time and things like that. Now it's all just gone to save money.
So I have to admit, I don't remember much about Game Informer, but I do feel a lot of nostalgia when I read things like this, just because of the fact that there are so many classic things that are gone from the gaming days. And wasn't there a site called Happy Puppy that used to have game content on there? I think that was a
That
thing.
sounds familiar.
But I just honestly feel like our archive situation is also probably not got a lot of time ahead of it either, because the archive.org is at best okay. And I've also heard of some interesting legal action that has stopped archive.org content from being up there. And I feel like eventually this is just going to be a vague memory in our brain that we won't even be able to get any archive content. It's very disappointing.
Well, I mean, it's also really disappointing for the staff there. That's the bigger thing to be like. They didn't know what was going on. They had no chance to save or back up any of the articles they were working in progress. They just shut everything down. So all of a sudden it was, I don't have access to anything anymore. And whatever whether it be Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever tools they were using to write their articles and their posts, no longer had access, as they just yanked it with no notice. So the employees are the ones that are really getting screwed here. And also because, in the journalism industry here, a lot of people want samples, past articles, things like that. Yeah, if you spend a good chunk of your career at Game Informer, you don't have that anymore. You might be able to pull an old draft down or find something on archive.org or find something on, say, Kotaku or Polygon where they reference your article and have small excerpts of it. But unless you made a copy of it on your own, it's been scrubbed effectively.
You know what I say to that, Chris? I don't want no scrubs.
Are we going to send messages to each other in Excel now?
I know our resident gamer here, SP. I heard you're the biggest gamer on this podcast. You have all sorts of thoughts about this.
Maybe.
I didn't make that comment. That's not nice. I disagree with making comments of that nature.
It's also not true because I know for a fact, just by Chris's height, he outweighs me.
Fair.
So, in the auspices of all of this for digital history and archiving and stuff like that, I remember reading an article, and I don't remember when it was, a couple years ago maybe. The pandemic really screwed with our timelines. It was an article basically talking about digital history being at risk, and there's been a lot of articles about that, but I can't remember the specific place that I saw this article. And they were just talking about the different issues that you guys talked about. I have a potential solution for all this. The solution is heartfelt. It's not a joke like I normally do. It is, we have all of these buildings throughout the world, but specifically the United States, that are struggling with a purpose, and they are called libraries. And it would make sense to me for all these libraries to band together to create disparate digital data farms in their spaces and have that being part of the nationwide archive, basically. And you could do it worldwide too. And I think this is the ultimate way forward, if somebody would grab the horns on it and be able to go forward with pushing this as an agenda item. I mean, what do people go to libraries for these days? There's activity rooms. You can rent one or sign off on one for podcasting. You can use it as a meeting area, but nobody really goes there for books. And if they do, it's to sign up for digital books, like ebooks that you can read on your Kindle, for instance. So you don't really pick anything up. There are movies, physical copies of videos there, but even those are going by the wayside as physical digital media players are starting to evaporate. So it just makes sense to me, if they are meant to be there to archive history, why not start archiving digital history before it's all gone?
That's a good thought. I like that thought, and I hadn't considered anything like that. But I also think that there's a good chance that even if they band together, that those physical locations would soon be closed.
Well, they're all paid for by tax dollars, right? And if your tax dollars
for now.
Okay.
A problem you would run into, I assume, is we know there's a lot of problems without getting political, but into book banning because things are deemed indecent for certain audiences. We do know there's a lot of content on the internet. No, I'm not talking about porn, but that is controversial.
Rule 34, it's all porn.
Fair. Or that other people may consider indecent. So that there would be I like your idea. There's just difficulty in making it happen, just because I'm sure there's going to be some aspect that's like, I can't believe you would archive something from collegehumor.com because their humor's raunchy. And then to greater extents, other websites that, while they may not be pornographic, are of adult material or of viewpoints that people don't care, because the internet is full of all sorts of stuff like that. So I agree that we need some better way to archive things, and I like the idea of incorporating libraries into some way to do that. I just worry what's going to happen, what we're going to lose between now and whenever we figure out the right way to archive all of this content that's been lost to time. Because now there's 30 plus years of Game Informer content that's gone, unless someone has print copies of some of the magazines and wants to do scans and stuff, which is possible. I've seen people scan magazines and put them up on archive.org and things like that. But we're losing history like that. It's history that we may or may not care about. Who knows? It's not as consequential, some would argue, as current events and things like that. But who knows? 50 years from now, someone's going to be writing their thesis on how the Pokemon craze took over the world or something like that. And a lot of that content that Game Informer wrote was about Pokemon games. And here's how you get secret rare things. Here's how you do cool stuff in the game. It's gone forever now. Not to say other people don't have it, but it's gone.
Pokemon, the game, the Pokestops or whatever, it's the reason why my boss got divorced, because he caught his wife playing the game with another guy.
See, that would be a good part of history.
Exactly. And it's just lost because there's no digital record of it.
Well, we will move on to our next news point here, but if you want us to keep track of this, please let us know that you are interested in finding the latest developments in SP's porn library, or Pornberry, if you will.
Okay, I'll start that, I guess. Let's you guys gonna give me some money for some servers? Let's go ahead.
50 cent.
All right, next up, I wanted to talk about the RCS. It's almost here. If you didn't know this, RCS is a long-standing communication protocol that was created by I believe it was the GSM group, for a replacement for the SMS protocol. And to date, it's basically only been Google that has implemented it. And I say that because not only is it just on Android, it's the fact that many carriers have dragged their heels on this, and Google basically had to get behind RCS before there was actually any legs to it. Well, last year, Apple did announce that coming this year, they would include RCS support, which in theory will help solve a bunch of the crappy experiences that iPhone and Android users have when trying to text each other more than a 64 by 64 pixel photo. So hopefully we'll see some improvement on that, because it is coming to iOS 18 and it's been in beta right now. There are users who are having it, and the question came up, what is this going to look like when implemented with iOS? Because although Google has done RCS a certain way, if you've been in our Discord, we've had some chatter about that. The reality is that there's a couple different ways that RCS could be done, because Google has put their own layer on top of what the RCS original standard was. Well, it's looking like maybe there is hope that it's not going to come out in some form of split fashion, because Google has gone and posted an ad celebrating this. And essentially, it's just like a sizzle reel talking about the benefits of RCS and how it's going to improve that experience between Android and iPhone users, because it is coming to the iPhone. And again, this is Google that put out this ad celebrating this. And so I wanted to bring this up because, yes, we're getting very, very close. There's even some people who have posted out there about their experience testing iOS's version of RCS and how it has been helpful to them when communicating with people, spouses, or other family members that are not on the same platform. And I am excited that they're actually posting this, because I think it means that there's probably communication happening between Google and Apple, so that there will be a actual cohesive version once it does hit iOS 18, and maybe we will end up seeing some goodness out of this and some actual enjoyable experience, not just another, well, technically we implemented it and it's not our fault that they don't talk to each other well. And I am excited about this. So I have hope. I have high hopes.
Am I still going to be a green bubble?
Probably.
Yeah, I think that's the case of how it works. It's the dumbest thing people are hung up over. Who cares? But
do you think the communication between Google and Apple is via text?
I think it's via Discord messages, to be honest. No, I'm just kidding. It's in our Discord. If you go to GonnaGeek.com/Discord, you can find the super secret channel called Apple plus Google Forever.
You know what it probably is?
Those messages.
Apple probably refused to communicate with Google until they went and bought an iPhone and they could iMessage it. That's probably what happened.
They were using Beeper also, and then Apple shut it down. God, that's such a niche joke that many people aren't going to get.
I am really excited about this, though, and I do hope that this is a good sign, because I would actually legitimately enjoy if we could, behind the scenes, share a bit of behind the scenes. The three of us do message by Google, I forget what you call it, Google Chat. Google Chat. And, if RCS could be decent, then maybe we could move over to RCS. That would be kind of nice to streamline some of those. And more importantly, I look forward to actually being able to see a video that my mom sends me. Any video, because they're usually very pixelated right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I actually segregate the videos that I send between the people that are on iPhones, and then I separately send the video to the people that are not on iPhones, because even with a group text back and forth, it gets pixelated pretty hard. But individually, it seems to do okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. And I look forward to finding out, because by the time we next record, I think we should have iOS 18 almost out, right? Because usually that's a late September release, right? Isn't that?
I'm not sure.
Going to record another one of these?
I'll think about it. Okay.
Well, the AI versions of us are going to record another. That's
fair enough.
The secret, kids. We've done enough episodes. We've trained AI models.
We have.
After all three of us. So the next dozen GonnaGeek shows are going to be AI based. We're going to say, hey, here's the topic I want AI Chris to discuss. And let it do its thing.
And he's going to come out with a lot of mom jokes.
It's possible, because the back catalog has
Yeah.
probably 200 plus episodes of me making mom jokes on occasion.
Exactly. All right, well, moving on to the next news point here. There's two things that I enjoy in life. The first is when things go horribly wrong with Boeing. The second is eyeliner. And I heard that you have something that kind of bridges those two things, SP.
Yeah, I am not wearing any eyeliner right now, but it's the same as Boeing not having a functional Starliner. So yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
Starliner, not eyeliner.
Yeah.
That was my
That's
misunderstanding.
I thought it was guy liner. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So there's very little information that's actually coming out about this in the last couple of weeks. But when we recorded last, which was late June, we were celebrating the launch, which was finally launched because they were having booster problems unrelated to the Starliner spacecraft itself. It was launched on June 5th. And then we were saying, it'll come down in the next couple of days. We'll see how it goes. Well, it's August 5th as we're recording this, 2 months after the ship launched. And, well, it's still there. So what's going on about this? We got Eric Berger over there at Ars Technica, who has the most information out there about what's going on outside of NASA and Boeing's press conferences, which have ceased over the last 2 weeks. So let's go over a couple articles that posted just in the last few days. First of all, Eric posted an article that said NASA says it is evaluating all options for the safe return of Starliner crew. It's been over 8 weeks since Boeing's Starliner spacecraft launched into orbit. The return to Earth was supposed to be 8 days later on June 14th. However, problems with the Starliner's ride to the space station involved some helium leaks and failing thrusters. Now, failure of multiple reaction control system thrusters that are essential to steering Starliner during both its departure from the space station and the critical engine burn to re-enter Earth's atmosphere are causing issues on whether or not to bring it back home right now. There was a period where they were testing it on orbit. From what I understand, they continued to test it on orbit, and they did some testing on Earth, which seemed to confirm some, not all, of what they think is going on. However, Because of this, NASA has put the brakes on any planned return and has not made a final decision. This will probably not happen at least until next week. We're in that week time period since this article was written, and it is likely that NASA's Associate Administrator, Jim Free, will personally make the call on how to return the 2 astronauts back to Earth, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. There are some firm facts that he can confirm. One, NASA keeps delaying a decision. So even a flight readiness review for both the Crew 9 mission and the return have been delayed. So NASA is delaying a decision. Also, NASA did issue a $267,000 task award to SpaceX on July 14th for a special study for emergency response. This study was to take into consideration the 2 astronauts that were on the space station and to safely return them using alternative means. If it went to SpaceX, it means they are looking at the Dragon capsule, which is the only other manned-rated capsule that the US has operational right now. The other option is to plead and borrow with the Russians for a Soyuz return. I just don't see that happening. The United States doesn't want to depend on Russia right now with things going on in Europe. Matter of fact, I am shocked that the 2 countries are still cooperating the International Space Station. I really am.
Me
I'm
too.
legitimately
I
shocked.
honestly am too.
Yeah, 100%.
So the third thing that Eric can confirm is that SpaceX has been actively working on a scenario in which 2 or 4 astronauts launch on board Crew 9. If there's 4 astronauts, you can return a total of 6, but you have to configure the capsule that way. If you just launch 2, then you don't have to reconfigure the capsule and you just bring back the 2 astronauts. So SpaceX is working on those scenarios separately from their task order, but probably conjoined with that. And then 2 sources have told Eric that in meetings at the NASA field centers, there has been vigorous discussions, meaning arguments, about whether or not to fly the crew home, the Starliner crew home, either on Starliner or other means. This is 4 things that he can confirm. Now, because of this, Eric posted another article just hours before we recorded this, saying that NASA will delay the launch of Crew 9 due to the Starliner issues. Crew 9 is supposed to go up on Dragon. Crew 8 was Dragon. Crew 9 is the next Dragon mission. Officials are contemplating moving the Crew 9 mission from its current date of August 18th to September 24. That's more than a month. That is a significant slip in schedule. There is the possibility, as I reiterated before, of launching 2 instead of 4 astronauts. And the flight readiness review that was planned for last Thursday to return Starliner, which was a delay from its original flight readiness review, was delayed after disagreements internal to NASA about the safety of Starliner. Now, the possibility of Wilmore and Williams returning on a Dragon spacecraft has increased in the last 10 days. So it's 10 days prior to August 5th. NASA has consistently said that crew safety will be its number 1 priority in deciding how to proceed. That's good news. There also is another surprising reason for the delay, which I just read about today. The need to update Starliner's flight software, not the hardware, the software. I was like, what?
Huh?
Did you guys hear about this?
No.
Yeah. So Boeing removed the capability in the software for Starliner to operate autonomously, to remove itself from the space station and to re-enter the atmosphere autonomously. It was all supposed to be astronaut operated and initiated.
That's stupid.
So now they have to go back and reload that software. And I don't know about the commonality between the capsule that flew 2 years ago and the capsule that's flying now. Can they use the same software? I don't think so. They've made changes in the hardware on board the spacecraft. So they have to actually update that software to then push it up to the capsule on orbit to then do a firmware upgrade, basically.
Their test team's going to be in hell right now trying to figure that out.
They've been in hell for more than 2 months.
Fair.
I mean, since the launch, they've been in hell. And then before that, for the last couple of years, but like 4 years, they've been in hell. So Boeing did not respond to a media query, I'm assuming from Eric, about why this capability was removed for the crew flight test. And one source at Johnson Space Center said the concern is that NASA can't afford to brick one of its crew docking ports. Now, on our Discord server, we had some discussions within the past couple of weeks about what exactly was the issue, what is the risk, what could go wrong. And I said at that point in time that the main issue that I see is the available ports for U.S. ships. That is your main concern. Now, at the time, I thought they could just kick the dang Starliner off of the space station and then just pray that it re-enters. They can't do that. They can't afford for the spacecraft to stop in the middle of disengagement, thus screwing up the port. I mean, it's like a clogged sink or something like that. You can't use it anymore. And you have to go like a toilet. Your toilet's broken. You have to go use another toilet, right? Well, the docking ports, there's precious few. I mean, there's a lot of them, but there's precious few to use. You don't want to not be able to use one because of emergency egress issues for the lack of anything else. So the campaign now has spilled into the public between NASA and Boeing because Boeing, in their infinite PR wisdom, released a PR statement on Friday. So this is Monday, so 3 days ago, that reiterated all the testing that they have done since the launch of the crew flight test and iterated their confidence that Starliner will work and they will continue to support, but they believe with confidence that Starliner can return the astronauts to Earth safely. Guys, we mentioned this before. I would not want to be the executive at Boeing or at NASA that decided, oh yeah, let's go ahead with this without absolute certainty that these people can get back to Earth on Starliner. If you can't do that, this is my opinion, if you can't do that at this point, you got to bring him back some other way. You bring Starliner back, you prove that, hey, we could have done it, but NASA was the big bad here. And you then save a little bit of face in the PR realm. But you don't goad them into a decision and then have something go wrong. You'll never fly a spacecraft again if you do that. So Boeing, be careful what you're doing right now. I understand there's a lot of money on the line and you're trying to do what's right for your shareholders. There are 2 lives on the line right now. And if you screw those up, it is not going to look good for your company ever again.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane how long this is going on. Now, I do appreciate the fact that you enlightened me on here, that they are trying to make sure to get all of the data before it comes back, because a lot of that stuff will be gone and they can't necessarily get that information after the return trip. But also the fact that there has not been any like, oh, look, aha, we figured it out. We know all of the problems and where they went wrong. Comments coming out. I think that just goes to show that it's more than just data collecting. Like they're really having probably troubles here figuring out what went wrong. And that in itself raises huge alarm bells for that return trip. I think anyways, I'm not a space expert, but I just feel like the amount of time that has been delayed versus the amount of information that seems to be coming out doesn't jive. There seems to be a disconnect there. Chris, what's your thoughts on this? Are you sitting there putting your money into Boeing stocks?
Not as far as I know. I don't think they're any of the mutual funds I invest in. I
think
certainly
they're on
hope not,
sale
at least.
today.
Apparently.
Yeah. It's not a good situation. I mean, simple oversimplification there, obviously, but I don't know how long they can keep kicking the can, like has been said here. And I have concerns what happens when they decide to stop kicking the can on a decision on all fronts.
Are they going to actually kick Starliner? Is that the can that's being kicked?
I mean, if you can make it detach, maybe so. Get out there in a spacesuit and just start kicking it and see if it comes flying up.
Yeah, that sucked for it to come to that.
I kid.
You know, there's been a history of certain people involved with SpaceX that have been known to file a lawsuit or two over the years. And I just wonder, you mentioned that there was a mission that was delayed because of Starliner. I wonder how long until SpaceX files a lawsuit because Starliner's thing has delayed their business.
It'll depend on whether or not they get to go up and rescue the astronauts.
Yeah, but you can do both things. You can rescue and also file a lawsuit.
Not until the decision is made to go to the rescue.
Fair enough.
So they won't make a legal move until that point.
Okay.
But yeah, they
point.
could. They could conceivably do that, especially with all the crap that Blue Origin has sent SpaceX's way lately with just comments on publicly available reviews on like environmental assessments and stuff like that. Blue Origin has actively subverted SpaceX a couple of times.
I actually really want this lawsuit to happen. You know why?
Why?
Because the action that's causing the problem is not on Earth. The action is on the space station. I think that would be really fascinating to follow.
Well, maybe. I think the action is NASA's decision.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. You grounded that lawsuit really quickly for me. Okay, now I don't care.
I see what you did there.
Well, thanks for informing us on this, and we look forward to our September episode where we're still talking about this.
We might. We also might be talking about the SpaceX's Starship 5th launch. The Twitter account for Elon Musk said that Flight 5 could launch as soon as late August or early September, depending on how quickly the FAA is going to grant the modified launch license. They already have an FCC license for the communication plan, and they already have a patch that is not for sale yet, but it's been leaked. So they're getting ready for their 5th launch. Also, they're in the process of constructing their 2nd launch tower down at Boca Chica. There you go. I said it. Take your drinks. Boca Chica. So they're going to go ahead and probably launch after the 2nd tower is erected. And I think that is to clear out any of the construction issues and not, blow anything up with the exhaust out of Flight 5 as it launches up. So that is in the future, and we'll see how things go. Both the booster and the ship have static fired, so they're ready to go. They just need to be brought out to the launch site, stacked, and have the FTS, probably go through a wet dress rehearsal, and then have the FTS or the flight termination system installed and ready to go. So yeah, late September, late August, early September is going to be the launch there. And I'm looking forward to that because that'll be the first catch attempt of the booster.
Okay, I just had a random thought that came to me completely unique to me, and I was the one that thought of it. Could Starship save Starliner?
So if it was operational, I don't know of the sizes because I haven't done the actual math, but conceivably you could capture the Starliner capsule inside of Starship and then bring it back home, and then you could study it that way. Now, the problem with that is you'd have to jettison all of the consumables because you wouldn't want explosives inside the Starship as you're coming down, especially with all the heat that it endures. But that would be interesting. They've already discussed bringing Hubble back or doing a Hubble servicing mission, either with Dragon or with Starship. So they're thinking uniquely at SpaceX, and we'll just see how this happens. Also, by the way, I brought up Blue Origin before. They're getting ready for their New Glenn launch, and their recovery ship is now turned on its AIS. It's being built in France, and it is on a ship to be shipped over to Florida at this point in time. So they're getting ready for their launch as well. And that is supposed to be a reusable launch system that's in between. It's a little bit more than Falcon. I don't think it's as much mass as Falcon Heavy. And it's definitely less than Starship, but it is their path forward. And that, if they can get it running, will then prevent issues like we just had in the last couple of weeks, where Starship had an anomaly of their second stage, which shut them down for like 2 or 3 weeks until they were given the go ahead to launch again. When they're launching left, right, and backwards to try to make up for lost time. And if New Glenn was there, they could pick up the slack, so to speak, or have a capability. And that was important because they do launch Crew 9 on a Falcon 9. And if the Falcon 9 was prevented from launching, Crew 9 wouldn't have been able to go up. So lots of moving parts here. Having a single launcher for human manned space in the United States has always been problematic, even back to the space shuttle days. So it's nice to see Blue Origin moving ahead with this, and it's nice to see, all the development in the space sector, but a lot of moving parts right now.
My real question is, why hasn't NASA sent a ship up to help yet?
Shh. How do you think they're getting supplies?
There's a callback.
That's what Suncast is doing.
Yeah.
And really quick, before we get on to our annual tradition of Prime Day discussion, I wanted to just go into the archives and dust off the extra segment, because earlier in the show, Chris Farrell, you mentioned a thing that went away. You talked about a thing that was here. You used to be good and now is not good. And that reminded me of Wink. And so I decided while we were recording to Google what the
I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself.
I decided to Google what the latest stat was or information was about Wink. And apparently the app is not even available in the Google store anymore. So
in the Apple store too.
You can't even get it. And somebody who emailed Wink asking about this got a reply back saying, "We're very sorry that the Wink app is not currently available on this OS version. A new update would be required for the app to be available for download on your current mobile device's OS version. There is no ETA available for the next application update release. Please note that you may still be able to reinstall and use the app on devices with older OS versions. We sincerely regret the impact this has had on accessing your smart home devices."
And the unmitigated gall of that company, they raised the subscription price too.
Yeah.
$1 extra a month. And you can't even download the app on modern smartphones.
Can we call time of death yet?
It's been dead. I go on that subreddit sometimes and I'm like, how are people still like, well, everything's just so easy. I like using it. I'm like, just buy a new hub, spend an afternoon migrating everything, and you can stop spending $6 a month on a dead service.
Yeah. So I thought that was really funny, but there you go. I think that's slightly more depressing than the Game Informer. No?
There's just a whole different level of stupid on the fact that Wink still remains.
All right, let's get a little bit out. I'm not even going to edit that. Let's get into talking a little bit about our deals that we picked up in this summer's edition of Prime Day deals. What once was an annual tradition has now become a more than once, I don't know, a biannual edition.
Sometimes I think.
Yeah, because it seems like there's Prime Day deals happening all the time. But the original Prime Day deals was in the summer-ish, and that happened again. And so that's what we do. We like to talk about things that we bought and things that we should have maybe bought or things that we bought and returned. And I've got one of those. So I'm going to start off talking about some of the deals that I did end up buying. And the first that I want to mention is what I'm actually typing on right now. Let's see, can I open up a notepad window and try to type so loudly that I am making keyboard sounds so that I can talk about the Keychron keyboard that I did buy, because I was camping when a good portion of Prime Day happened. and I saw a deal on the Keychron keyboard that I had been eyeing for a while, and I had remembered, you know what? You were a good boy, and you said no last year to the deals. You were camping last year too, and you said no. And then I was weak, and I bought the Keychron K5 Pro hot swappable RGB mechanical low profile keyboard. I have, over the last couple of years, been into mechanical keyboards and decided that I wanted to give the low profile keyboard a shot. I do like it. I think that it's a nice bridge between lower keys, literally, and also a traditional mechanical keyboard. It's been good for me. I do feel a little bit like it's a bit membraney, only not from the typing perspective, but just from the fact that the keys are actually quite small. But I do like it, and it is a bit quieter, which is nice. Then I also picked up a HIC Micro Mini 2 thermal camera, and when I got that home, speaking of the whole app thing, I couldn't find an app in the App Store because it was a thermal camera that was meant to go on your phone. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to return this. And the day I was actually getting, I then let it sit on my desk for a while. And the day I was going to send it off, I went, no, let me just see, is the app available? And I looked, and the app was finally back in the Google Store. And so I downloaded it, and honestly, it was just not that great. So I sent it back anyways. So that was disappointing because I've been looking to get a thermal camera for a bit here that's not costing me a fortune, but I can maybe do a little bit of weatherproofing or weather draft proofing a little bit better, find out where some of my cold and hot zones are, and maybe look to make my winters not have to run heat as much in a couple of spots, because I know I got a couple of drafts, but that's not going to be the one. And then I will say that I had a regret that I didn't think about until after Prime Days had come and gone, and I forgot to look for a travel router. We talked about that a few episodes back, and ironically, my other travel router I brought with me camping, and it started giving me issues, and I didn't even think, look, see what was on sale, because I'm sure there was. So that was a little disappointing and a little ironic at that. And the last thing I'm going to call out here, because let's be real, Prime Days is not just Amazon anymore. The other companies aren't calling it Prime Days, but they always have deep discounts on those same days. And there was some good deals to be had. I'll stay at Costco on some power stations that I have been eyeballing for a bit. And power stations are basically big battery backups that are batteries that are meant for home use. And I have some that I've acquired on different sales, but I want to actually sell those and get ones that are a little more capable and essentially consolidate, because I have several small ones and I'd like to sell them off and just have a larger unit, which is easier to store. Plus, I could have higher outputs. And there was some stuff on the EcoFlow power stations that were quite deep discounts, cheaper than I'd seen in a while. And so I did pick up one there. And now I got to get listing those other ones. I gotta fund that. So I'm gonna sell those off, and hopefully I'll get lucky on that, because I do know somebody who sold some in the summer, and people were buying them, and so I got to get them listed. I'll
give you a dollar.
Dollar
American.
Won't cut it. Dollar won't cut it.
Dollar.
So that's my list of various things. And I do regret not looking for that travel router, because I needed to have one. Chris, what did you pick up?
So I'll start at the bottom of the list and work my way up. One of the first things I got was a new little battery powered or USB powered fan for my desk, because the one I had here for many years was a micro USB cable for charging, which was a pain in the butt. And it had gotten old enough to the point now where it could only run for about 4 hours when it wasn't plugged in and would die. So this new one here is USB-C on the back, but also has USB-A port to plug things in to charge off of it if you wanted. And it's really nice because it folds up nice and tiny, because the back leg folds in. So I can take it to the office with me on my in-office days to keep some airflow in there. And I have only charged it once, and I've probably run it 4.5 days since charging it. And I have one indicator light left on the battery still. So I'm pretty impressed how well my $10 USB-C portable fan is doing for me. It makes me think that if I needed to use the battery as a power bank, it would do decently well as well. So yeah, for $9.99 on sale, I'm totally cool with that. And I checked the Camel and the Honey app, and it was like $1.50 cheaper than it normally was. But hey, it was enough that I needed it. It was on sale. I figured, what the heck, I'll pick that up. This is exciting stuff, guys. Exciting. I also bought some cat scratchers for my cats because they needed new scratchers so I could throw the old ones away.
Wait, are they scratchers for the cats to use, or are they cats that scratch you?
Well, both happened, but they're scratchers for the cats to use, and they were decently priced. I had them sitting in my cart for a while, so I had an eye as to how the prices had adjusted. And they were things that were actually on sale for Prime Day, not some of those other things we've seen where the price raises 2 days before Prime Day, so then they can drop the price back to what it was on sale for during Prime Day. So I did buy that as well. Now we're getting into some of the more expensive stuff. Steven got a keyboard. I also bought myself a keyboard right here, and sorry for the glare there coming off my light. This is, I have a Logitech MX Master Keys keyboard that I've been using. This is the Master S for Mac keyboard that I picked up on sale. So I've got 2 keyboards I keep on my desk, one of which is paired to my main desktop and my work computer, so I can swap between those if needed. The other of which is paired to a laptop. 2 laptops I have docked over here that I can use on occasion. So I shuffle my keyboards around as needed, and this gave me the ability to have 6 different keyboard connections versus the 3 I had before. So very exciting, but I do like the Logitech MX Master Keys line of keyboards. They're pretty nice.
Can you hold that up again? Because I want to see the color.
Certainly.
Ooh,
This is black, and it's black and kind of a gray.
Is the backlighting like a bluish? Is that what that is? Or is it just
the
camera?
backlighting is just white like the other one is too. It just doesn't come across on camera because I have my spotlight on top of my monitor that's just blasting the light at me, so it washes it out a lot.
Well, tell me that it's blue, because I thought it looked nice.
I mean, sure, I can tell you it's blue, but that would be a lie.
Thank you.
The next thing, it wasn't a Prime Day deal, but it was bought around Prime Day, and I didn't see any better deals, but I did upgrade my watch to the Galaxy Watch 7 instead of the Galaxy Watch 6. If you go to the GonnaGeek Discord, you can see the issues I was having until they put out a patch like a week into owning it. I was this close to returning it, but go to GonnaGeek.com/Discord. You can check it out for yourself and find out more. We're running late on time, so I don't want to go into that story right now. And then the final thing I bought, this was my big purchase. It was my present to myself because I hate vacuuming. I do have a robot vacuum, but it is a very much older Shark Ion robot vacuum that doesn't have any of the fancy stuff for room mapping or anything like that. So I bought myself...
Or the cat turd detection.
Oh, yeah, or the turd detector, or more importantly, the cat toy detector. So it'll run over a toy and then get stuck if I don't pick them all up. So what I did pick up, there were a bunch of robot vacuums on sale during Prime Day. I'd had my eye on a couple different models. The one I ended up going with was the Eufy X10 Pro Omni. It's a mouthful right there, in part because it has LiDAR on top of it for quick room mapping, but secondarily, because it has a camera mounted to the front of it, and in all of the robot vacuum competitions, it has been the best when it comes to object detection and avoidance. And I can confirm this is really good at that, because after it did its initial mapping, I purposely left some cat toys on the floor. I left a pair of shoes out in the middle of the floor where they got kicked off because I was just in a hurry. And as it went its route, it went around them, wouldn't do anything to them, and would then, in the map in my app, mark, hey, this is a shoe. I went around it. This is an unknown object. And it would put a picture of what was in the room. So you could see, here's what the robot vacuum could have hit, but chose to go around. So I have been very pleasantly surprised with how well their object detection has worked. Only one cat toy at this point has been run over and gotten stuck in it. The rest of them, it has successfully dodged. So it has saved me a bunch of time. This robot also does mopping, which I think is kind of cool. It's got 2 pads on the back that it will then drop down and spin on any floors like laminate or tile to effectively mop, and then it will go back to its base station and clean and wash those pads and then blow hot air on them for 4 hours to dry them. Very pleased with how much I like this robot. It's the lowest price I'd seen for that Eufy robot, and it was over $200. I think it was about $200 off, excuse me, not over.
Well, that's awesome. And I am jealous of your robot vacuum upgrade, because I will confess that mine has not run for a while because I have run into far too many problems here recently. And I got to get better. I either got to get a robot like this or get the kids better at cleaning things up. So
yeah. that's why a lot of these newer ones are smart enough now that the object detection is good enough that if the kids don't pick up everything, it's not going to try and run it over. It will dodge it. Like in the tests I saw, it's smart enough to say, hey, this is a cable on the ground. I shouldn't run that over and stuff like that. So it's been pretty impressive from my personal tests and from what I saw online.
Now, I look forward to your report, though, of when you take your old robot and you equip it with knives and see how well the new robot can fend off itself.
You're acting like I haven't done this already.
Fair enough.
What did you name your robot vacuum?
It is the aluminum Falcon.
Nice.
That's too close to Millennium Falcon lawsuit.
It's a joke from Robot Chicken that I stole.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I didn't get that because I'm lame. All right. Speaking of lame, SP, how about your deals?
Whoa!
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Wow.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, you're not wrong. I went back to my Amazon order history for the July 16th and July 17th days, which were the Prime days. And I was like, okay, what did I order? Because I didn't remember taking part in any Amazon Prime deals. I ordered 9 things. I wanted to order one thing, but I ordered 9 things. And out of those 9, 4 had marginal deals on them. What were those 4 things? I got 3 different types of cell phone holders for my car. I got a new car and I'm not really comfortable with where the cell phone was supposed to be. So I wanted a holder for that. Not that I, text and drive or anything like that, but I just wanted a holder for it. So I got 3 different types of holders because the one that I had bought previously just wasn't working out. So you ranged in price from $8.99 to $22.94. And they were like a couple bucks off each. So that was 3 of the 4 deals. The 4th deal is a little bit better. It was for my new bed. I got a new Sleep Number bed and a new headboard to it because I went from a queen to a king. I got headboard anti-vibration soundproof pads, which were normally $18, and I got them for $15.12.
Woo.
So what you're saying is
that.
if your bed is a rockin', then the anti-vibration soundproof pads are not working. Is that what it is?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
That's correct. And specifically got it for, actually, I just didn't want to dent in the wall because I don't want to do wall repairs. So that's
if the headboards are knocking into the wall, stop pushing the buttons to go up and down in your bed.
Well, no, the headboard actually doesn't move at all. The base is really cool. If you guys haven't used or seen the Sleep Number Flex bases, they're actually really good. They're heavier than crap, though, which is one of my other orders, which I didn't get.
You bought
on.
crap?
No, I bought carpet sliders for the bed, and those were not a deal. So I got those, and I bought wooden drawer knobs for a puzzle table because the one that I bought came damaged, and I had already returned one that had cracked in half. So that's a whole saga there, but was able to fix it with new wooden drawers. They're like jewelry drawers. The knobs are really small. About the biggest tech thing that I bought was a USB-C CAC reader, and that was $14.99. That was not on sale. What I wanted to buy was a new Eero 6E Pro 3-pack. Those are normally between $5.99 and $549. There's $50 here and there. And it was on sale for $399. I almost pulled the trigger on that, but it was a little bit more money than I had to spend at the time, especially because I had just put a huge down payment on my new car. So just didn't have the money to pull on that deal at that time.
I was tempted by the Eero Pro Max 7.
I know you were.
I was this close because they run that deal if you trade in any router or any other network hardware, any Amazon product actually is 20% off. I'm like, I have so many Echo Dots, they're just sitting in a drawer. I could trade that in, get $5 and then 20% off of the Eero hardware. It's just, I couldn't justify it.
I didn't see the 20% off on the deal though this time around. So
no, it was there for the 7 at least. I didn't check the 6s.
Okay.
I also thought about picking up another 6 to kind of extend my network where it's a little weak, but I may just need to move my nodes around a little bit.
One of the reasons why I want so many nodes, as opposed to like you go to the 7, you only need a couple in your whole house, right? But one of the reasons I want so many is I don't have any backbone in my house. We've talked about it before, no Ethernet backbone. So I literally need to use them on like my entertainment consoles so that I can plug everything into that so I can reduce the total number of Wi-Fi that's floating around the house. So that's why I wanted to go and stay with the smaller nodes versus the bigger 7 Max.
Well, thank you for telling us about your deals. I am sad for you. You did not get that. And I am even more sad for you that you had to put up with such a poor segue on my part. So I apologize. I feel bad about
poor
that.
Segue. It was
I do
true.
feel bad.
I guess my point in all this was the point that you let in, Steven, is that Prime Days suck these days.
Yeah.
There wasn't a huge deal. There wasn't like 20 or 30% off of anything. It was a couple bucks, and that wasn't enough for me.
Yeah. Unless it's Amazon branded products, most of the stuff on Prime Day is not that great a deal anymore.
I think they've made it too long, is a big problem too, because they've got the whole pre-Prime Days countdown, and then the Prime Days itself goes very long. I think that it's causing a lot of problems. So I'm disappointed in Prime Days in general, but I am very happy that it allowed Chris to get that cool Robo vacuum, because now maybe that will entice me eventually.
I forgot to mention, I think I shared it on the Discord. It also has a headlight, which is pretty cool when you're running it at night.
That is cool.
It scared the crap out of me though, because like, what the hell's this light going on behind me? Because I've got it set up to clean my kitchen after dinner generally, and I'd forgotten to run it, so I told it to run. Then all of a sudden I'm like, what is my neighbor doing on their back porch? I'm like, oh no, that's my robot vacuum that's blasting light into my living room.
Let me ask you before we go one last question. How come you didn't do the litter robot or the cat litter robot? Litter Robot's a brand. That's why I
yeah.
backpedaled.
So there was one I was looking at, and it was actually $200 off. It's just it came down to me if I'm going to spend the money on a big purchase item, do I get a robot that can sweep the whole house, or do I get a litter box that can deal with that aspect of it? And right now, I decided the robot was the better purchase because it was the better deal. And I've actually sort of been working out an idea based off of a motion sensor with the current litter box to basically be able to set the robot 10 minutes after the motion sensor triggers to go and do a quiet pass just around the litter box in the hallway, which it's connected to get any litter that gets kicked out. Because the quiet mode on this vacuum is really quiet. You wouldn't notice it.
Cool.
How is the cat with the robot vacuum?
Neither of them really hate it. The one tried to act all not fearful and laid on the floor as the robot vacuum came up to it and then ran away. And now she just likes to stalk the vacuum when it runs. That's her current game. But the robot vacuum has been victorious every time.
Cooper didn't care about it at first, but it rolled across his tail and it tried to suck up his tail. And so ever since then, he has a strong dislike of the vacuum.
Understandably.
Well, I look forward to finding out what our audience may have bought. You should come over to our Discord at GonnaGeek.com/Discord. And while you are in there, you should check out our Deals and Bargains channel, because we do have a bunch of people who post random deals in there. And while Prime Days was happening, definitely was a lot of conversation happening there, including the aforementioned robot vacuum that Chris is talking about, because we're all just telling him that he should buy everything.
Cybertruck, you're going to get one.
No, I want a Rivian R2. I've already said that.
Well, no, you're going to get both. You're going to compare and contrast.
Yeah, you must think I make a lot more money than I make to be able to afford two EVs.
Yeah, you're not a government employee. You can make a ton of money.
But that's going to take us to the end of the show. Before we go, I will remind everybody that we have a lot of awesome geeky podcasts on the GonnaGeek Network. You should check that out. That includes the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast, where you can find Chris Farrell and his co-hosts over there talking all things good and nerdy. And you can also check out the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast, where SP is on occasionally visiting that podcast to talk about the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
These are the greatest plugs ever. I can't wait to pull them out and incorporate them into my programs.
We just covered Deadpool and Wolverine. I loved seeing that movie. That invigorated my joy back into Marvel related properties. We've had some good Marvel properties since Endgame. But for the most part, I'm just not seeing the threads. They had the big bad villain issue and stuff like that. This just pushed all that to the side, and it took all the crap from 20th Century Fox and added some from Marvel. And it said, here you go. Here's a fun movie. And it was fun. It was definitely rated R, but it was fun.
I haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers for me yet, but I do want to make a comment. And unless there's another movie out that I'm just not aware of, I happened to be going by the movie theater one evening, and I was mind blown at how packed the parking lot was in this particular theater. I haven't seen it that way in forever. And it was just after Deadpool and Wolverine came out, and I just couldn't help but think, like, is this them? Is this a movie that is that big of a draw? And it was kind of...
Seems to be.
Even though I'm not a big, active moviegoer, it was nice to see.
So you had Twisters that was still out, and then you had what was that animated? I want to say Inside Up or
Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2 that is still pretty big. So it depends on what the weather is like. I heard that a lot of people on the West Coast in particular that don't generally have air conditioners have been going to movies as respite from the heat. So there's that as well. So those are the three big ones. I mean, earlier this year, you had Dune 2 that didn't do so well in the theater. I still haven't seen that, but I want to.
So just as a point for comparison, the local theater I went to we have two in town, and this one was just the one that fit our schedule in because we went like a 9 a.m. showing on Sunday morning. That's how early they started. I went and counted how many showings of Deadpool and Wolverine they're having between standard showings, 3D showings, and I think there was another variant. They were showing it 26 times on Sunday. That's how many times Deadpool and Wolverine was playing.
I saw it on Monday, the opening weekend, and I was actually pretty shocked because usually when I go in at that time, there's nobody in the theater. There's about 36 people in there. That's not shabby for a Monday night showing.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I had somewhere I was going to go in this weekend, and it was going to take me all day, and I was going to be by myself, living the family at home. And then I got stuck in traffic, and I decided to abandon the plans to do that. And I had a split second being like, I could go to the theater, and they would never know I could see this. But I didn't.
Deadpool and Wolverine would probably be, I don't know how somebody else in your household might like it, but I know you would have liked it. So.
Let's put it this way. They say the
I
F word more than any other Deadpool movie at this point in time. I can't remember the exact count, but it's a lot. And let's put it this way. The F word's only been used once in the MCU prior to now.
So we did so after we recorded, and unfortunately I couldn't use the audio and post-credit scenes on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. due to audio issues that were ongoing with one of the co-hosts, but we actually looked into that. It is not by far the worst movie R-rated that has used that. I think the record holder is something like 400, almost 500 times
probably
in a
Kevin
movie.
Smith movie.
I don't remember the movie off the top of my head. And as for Disney movies or Deadpool or whatever, it's not even there. You have to go down to like 15 or 17 or something like that in order to get to this. It's not that bad considering other movies that have been out there.
I just like the escalation that they started with one F-bomb, and as Kent pointed out in the chat room, went to 117 in the MCU, 117 more.
Well, 118, I believe, but
it's 118 total now.
Yeah.
Well, come on over to our Discord and chat all about that. There's a couple different channels. If you're talking spoilers, go to the spoiler discussion channel. If you want to talk about the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. feedback over there, or if you want to just tell Chris that he should be talking more about it on All Things Good and Nerdy, go to the All Things Good and Nerdy channel. So that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for episode number 414 of the official GonnaGeek Show. I'm Steven saying I will watch it soon. What soon is remains to be seen.
I'm Chris, and I've met my favorite Wolverine variant.
I'm SP, asking Steven, what exactly are you going to watch soon?
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. I still told you I'd watch an episode of that soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or a thumbs up on YouTube. You can always join us for our live recording sessions at www.geeks.live. And remember, you can find our full back catalog at GonnaGeek.com/show. If you're itching for more geeky content, check out other shows on GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Voice work was by Emily Prokop of the Story Behind podcast. That's it for this episode. We hope to see you back again next show.